Horn of Africa region, including those who are going to present the session for today. So with us, we have a collective of organizations, civil society movement in Horn of Africa region, who name themselves as Consortium for Imagining Humanitarian Action, which is more than just a consortium, but more of locally led movement, south to south support collaboration for a stronger cross-border support and action that has been working in Horn of Africa or Eastern Southern Africa region in the past 2-3 years now. So a little bit about the consortium. We will hear more about this consortium later from directly the people that are working in the consortium. We will also listen more about how did it started from our colleagues Edwin Kiprop, that was leading the whole process together with colleagues from AICS, Samuel, earlier in 2021. So we will first ask everybody from the consortium members to turn on their camera if they can, just to say hi to colleagues from Save the Children Norway. I'm confused looking at the camera now. That's where I should look at, right? There you go. There are 3 of them saying hi. Anyone else? More? 4 of them saying hi. So hello. Good afternoon from nice and warm Oslo. Hope it's also nice and warm where you are at the moment. And thank you for being here with us and sharing the learning and inspiring us with your story and your progress, your journey. It'll be a lot of us working in this sector soon, working closely with Save the Children Norway's strategy, currently being launched that we are going to be more intentional about locally led, globally connected, or we call it localization. What does that look like? We'll be more inspired with this sort of approach in the future. So about practicality, because we will then hope that this session will be shared widely in AICS and CRHA consortium website. So hopefully people are not against the idea of recording the session. But if you are, let us know, and we will make sure that you are not going to be part of the recording or forever be silenced. Okay? All right. Yeah, so a little bit also about this locally led, globally connected OKR group. So as part of Save the Children Norway's strategy period 2025-2027, it has been more emphasized and then intentionally wants to make localization as a foundational the ways of working in Save the Children Norway. And that's why we have here me and also Gustavo and colleagues online, Helena, and a few others that are part of the OKR group are pushing this forward. And this is one of the activities we would like to learn and emphasize more in how we are working in the future. So without further ado, I would like to give the stage to Edwin first, right? To then share with us what was the background, what was the idea. So Edwin Kiprop is our colleagues from Save the Children International from the global team unit that focusing on Eastern Southern Africa region at the moment. He has been the push and the facilitator for this consortium to be where we are at the moment. Take over, Edwin, please.
Well, thank you, Awan, for that generous introduction. Thank you so much, colleagues on the call. Yeah, as you mentioned, my name is Edwin Kiprop, based in the regional office in Nairobi, ESA, and part of the global team. Welcome. I just wanted to give you a snippet of how the journey that we've walked through with my colleagues here at the regional office. and of course the same Norway and the consortium with series of activities, series of strategies, and of course mind-boggling aspect of just trying to reimagine our humanitarian actions within the region, given that we are experiencing a lot of protracted crisis day in, day out, and how do we innovatively respond to this aspect. And today I would like to give you a preview of how the CRHA came about. And if you can move on to the slide number 201, just to give you just to give you just how you expect our presentation to do. We'll focus on 4 areas, and in this case, particularly because the main theme here is localization, we will give you a preview of what is localization and also why localization. We'll dwell more on the history and philosophical basis of localization, and we'll be able to explore more on why locally led initiatives are crucial in today's experiment. In that sense, we're also going to look at CRHA more in details and how it came about, look at their structure, look at their pillars, and of course, the approach that we are currently working on, which I think is one of the innovative approach that we are currently really proud to really present and to have. And also look at the journey and the impact of the localization hub, which is our CRHA achievement. We'll be able to see the impact from the local organizations sharing their stories, and of course, giving you the real actions or the real impact from the ground for your information. And we also look at the future of our CRHA and opportunities for collaborations. I believe that this is it's sort of like a pilot thing, and it's a prototype that I would recommend that we replicate. I think this is an innovative idea that we, as working with the local organization and shifting the power to them and facilitating them. I think this is a new innovative way that we need to really grasp and look at the opportunities later on how to support and how to collaborate together with the stakeholders going forward. Move on to the next slide, our one, that now I need to bring you to up to speed on our history. The next slide, slide number 7. Go back. Slide number 7. That one, yeah. Great. So basically, we started this at the midst of COVID-19 pandemic. So when COVID-19 hit us in 2020, it disrupted a lot of humanitarian work due to the travel restrictions, and it meant that our technical specialists, ourselves, and many humanitarians couldn't travel. And in this case, it really led to aspect of now using the locally led responses to really respond to the humanitarian need at the ground. Remember, the aspect of COVID was a huge pandemic, and it was a humanitarian crisis. And in this case, it gave us the aspect of now we need to shift power to the local organization more, and really actualize localization to improve humanitarian action within the region. And in this case, that was 2020, and our regional team, SCI SARO, did an analysis in this sense, just to see what are the gaps within this region. And of course, with that aspect, we realized that there are some gaps in terms of the local capacity to respond. And in the same spirit, initiated a model to support them, just to see how we could improve or support the global South actors to really better respond to the aspect of humanitarian responses within the region through, equipping them with the capacity, equipping them with the resources they need in terms of the technical know-how, the knowledge, sharing the knowledge and the best practices, and at the same time, sharing any available resources that we could have in terms of the funding and supporting and gifting guides in kinds. And with that realization, we realized that in this sense, we needed to do a research. We initiated a research initiative that looked at particularly within the sub-Saharan Africa, looking at ways to just rethink of humanitarian aid and having local perspective, local organizational actors weighing into this research. And I think that time we got the funding from NMF. We used the funding from NMFA grant supported by Save Norway. And from the research finding, it highlighted that there exist challenges of interconnectedness of countries in the region. And therefore, we realized that there is need for mutual support in strengthening local organizational capacities, technical expertise, and of course, in increasing their regional influence by amplifying their works that they have been able to do, and at the same time connecting them with the donors from the global north. And from that research, we did a dissemination on the findings to the local organizations and national actors, CSOs within the region, research institutes, and of course, to discuss this research findings and collaborated on the actionable strategies. Actually, it brought in about 15 or so local organizations coming across from 5 country offices within the whole of Africa and Mozambique, to be specific, the Southern Africa, just to deliberate on how we could actualize the recommendation from the report. And during the workshop, I think that was on 2022, the workshops, we had a series of workshops that are culminated from that. And from that, we realized the whole local organization, the CSOs that were in attendance, realized that there were shared goals that they anticipated to realize. I mean, their shared goals, the shared vision of of making things better for the region in terms of the humanitarian aspect, and they agreed to come in together and collaborate and structure as a way of a model to come in together to support themselves in terms of sharing knowledge within themselves, supporting and sharing capacities, and of course trying to advocate more in terms of the influence that they have in terms of evidence that they have on the ground, and of course the knowledge that they have, the indigenous knowledge that they have within the community level. And for this, I think that was an inspirational moment. And I remember during the conceptualization of this model, I think the team used various analogies to come up with this aspect, and I think one of them was a baobab tree, the three-legged stool, and it was a really interesting moment for the team. And I think that was an inspiration moment, and that is when CRHA was formed. And for that matter, the CRHA here stands for Consortium for Reimagined Humanitarian Action, being launched in Nairobi in 2022. At Tamarind Tree Hotel, flagged in by our regional director, and of course the team, the stakeholders. Wawan was present there, and we really were happy to move it forward. And since then, SCI Regional Office has played a convener role in trying to facilitate the formation of the CRHA to operationalization level, stage, and that really gave us the aspect of now leading this discussion with the support of Save Norway, the funding from NMFA, has supported this project, and it has really grown into a very substantial force to reckon with, a consortium like no other, a consortium for the future, a solution for our quest to realizing humanitarian impact within the region. And I think this is a welcome consortium that we embrace, that we support it going forward. So in this case, I want to welcome my colleague Sam, who is the CEO for AICS, African Institute for Child Studies, and also the Secretariat for the consortium, to give you a preview of what the CRHA stands for, the pillars, the achievement that we've been able to do, and of course touch on some of the quantifiable, actionable achievement that we've been able to achieve so far. Welcome, Sam. The floor is yours now. Thank you.
Thank you, Edwin, and thank you for the journey we've walked with you at, I must say, a personal level and at Save the Children office in the Isaro, and of course the partners from Norway. We're really, really grateful for this. As we speak on to this, I want to add into some of the things that Edwin has said, that we are not just responding to a matter around localization, but we're really responding to a challenge that is very relevant in the current context of how do you make humanitarian aid work efficiently, effectively, and responsive to the context. And that is very important. As part of the report on the research that was done, there are a few networks that were picked out, such as the NEAR network, NEAR, which is the Network for Empowered Aid. And what we also noticed that there was not as much conversation on the research component and how do you document evidence that leads to this. So, and talking about aid now, we know what is going on in the global context. So I think it's a very appropriate time to reflect on this and see, is there a way local organizations can be more effective in this role? Is there a space for what role do we play at, the global north, global south, which I must say has a major opportunity, and we look forward to strengthening that collaboration. So as my name says there, Samuel Munyuing, I began my doctoral study after we had started this program, and it's on leadership and governance. And I need to say that I've been inspired by this program, especially on my thesis. I'll be working on localization and looking the role of leadership and the capacity of the local leadership to drive this. I'm also very grateful to Norway and the Norwegian people. I've been part of the Fredskorpset. Some of you could be aware the Ministry of Foreign Affairs in the Norwegian government has this program of strengthening the North-South collaboration and a South-to-South. I went to Liberia 2003, 2004. My background is actually biochemistry. So that was really an inspiration for me that put me in the space of where you want to think around how do we make a difference in the continent. So when I came back from that program, I took 2 years instead of 1, which was because of the special request there. But one of the gaps we identified when I came back was a platform where you can find expertise on child by people in the continent. And that we found that as very necessary, because you want people who understand the context, but also a platform where we can collaborate. So as a result, we have the African Institute for Children's Study, registered in 2009. It is more a platform for people, young people, experts from the academia, and communities, including networks, to be able to co-create solutions. And we've encouraged collaboration across the global north, global south. And this is where we really see that continuing, where we can package evidence, document it, show what's working, and perhaps even more importantly, what's not working. Many times we don't want to say what's not working, and the result is we keep investing on what does not work. And also appreciating that we're using a human rights-based approach, that we therefore want to be able to scale up some of these interventions that are working and ensure that governments, the private sector, can build on some of the interventions that we have. So we therefore find ourselves quite relevant as CRHA, the Consortium for Reimagining Humanitarian Action, in looking at how do we make aid work in the context that we've talked about. Next slide, kindly. Now, I think it is very imperative that we build on what localization is. And by the way, in this call, we are joined by some colleagues from some of the movements we are part of, such as the Children Agenda Forum, the NIA, which is Not Invisible Anymore, looking at modern slavery interventions, and some colleagues from the university. So for the benefit of all this, I'll dig in a bit into that. But as I go into what and why localization, I think we want to appreciate that since the World War II and the way the rebuilding of Europe happened, the support from the Americas and the global focus on that, the need for a very effective way of delivering aid and making it improve lives of people has been a conversation and something that we are keeping on searching. What works? You know, from a focus on, can we use aid to build industrialization? Can we use aid to address governance structures, which came up in the 90s? And now, of course, the focus later on should we remove debts? What really works? So we will be speaking a bit into that. And at the bottom of this, philosophically, I must say, I think we share in the fact that humanity is critical, that from our Ubuntu principle, Ubuntu, you know, that I am because you are, that we have a shared space, and therefore we cannot walk away from that. So what therefore is localization? And I know you can read this from all over, but in our reflection as CRHA, we have come to a point where we are convinced that it's really an evolving process, number one, where communities lead in decision making, designing the interventions, implementing, evaluating. And I want us to be very clear on the words here. It's leading. So we are not saying that we expect that there will be a global south process with completely no input from the global north. One of the things when you go into modernization theory, for example, it is expected that we can link the sharing of knowledge. It is very, very important. How do we share the how to do things? So that is the one reason why we want to do this. Edwin has spoken a bit on the why we want to go into localization. That are critical moments like in COVID, it is very difficult to have even people with very good will to travel and move in. And therefore, there is quite an opportunity to build on the resilience of local organizations, to build on their local knowledge. I believe most of us here must be appreciating the 2016 World Humanitarian Summit that urged that we shift, you know, the power, the resources into having more local organizations involved. And I think I want to appreciate that the Norwegian government is one of those that has continued appreciating this. Next slide, kindly. So with that background, I want to go into the Consortium for Reimagining Humanitarian Action. How does it look like? And for me, this is an opportunity for us to deconstruct and really say, what is localization? How do you make it operate in a practical term? Next slide. Next. The background and history has already been told. Beautiful, thank you. So now we are having a core membership of 11 organizations. 10 of these are not. So it's 11. So 8 of these are from the other countries. So in Kenya, we have AICS and other partners here. And then we have Somalia, South Sudan, Ethiopia, and Mozambique. These, of course, we picked these countries because of the partnership we've had with Save the Children and the programs they have done there working with children. But as we do this, we appreciate that you cannot promote child well-being without emphasizing community well-being, without building effective community structures. So, and therefore, some of the organizations we have here are not only focused on children, but we know that by what they are doing, they're able to respond to that. Now, for most of us here, we've had also experience in mobilizing and working with the local network. So, for example, the Children Agenda Forum in Kenya, the network in Somalia. And so we've leveraged on all this and synchronizing all that to be able to build a platform where we can address, especially, how do we build on existing knowledge? How do we organize communities? And how do we advocate? And therefore, the purpose of CRHA is to advocate for localization in both humanitarian and development contexts, because they're very interlinked. We're actually moving away from the school of thought where you only responded in crisis moment and stepped away. We now know that from the good practice in development, these are very interlinked. And therefore, that's why we are advocating on both. Enhancing the engagement of local organization in priority setting. So getting these teams in the decision-making spaces and building capacity for program design and public financing advocacy. Next slide, kindly. Now, as you can see from that hut, this is how we've operationalized. For us as Consortium for Emerging Humanitarian Action, when we talk about localization, we see it from a point that, number one, we have a systematic way in which you engage communities. And why do we want to structure it? One is that we are building on experiences and knowledge of what has worked. So we do have a manual that we've produced, and we've trained members on this, on how do you organize communities? What are those risk points that you take care of much earlier on? Some of these are built from knowledge of what has worked in Bangladesh. We've done a project in Kenya, and here I'm talking about member organizations. So we've consolidated all this knowledge. We worked with an organization which is called the Community Organizing Network in Kenya, who've had over 30 years experience in doing this. So we've built on local knowledge to compile this. A very critical element in community organizing is to ensuring every voice is captured. So we have one of our flagship programs in here is called the SKIZA. SKIZA is listen, getting everyone's voice to be included in that. Secondly is evidence building, that for localization to work, you need to be very deliberate on building on local knowledge and getting every voice to be included, building on AI and other technologies. So we have something we call the wiki, like Wikipedia. So it is a system that allows community members to use their mobile phone to send in text messages, and then the system is able to analyze this analytical capacity, and we are now working on that, is able to tap into social media and other sources of information to improve the ability to see what is the anti-narratives, you pick the various data points and help to demonstrate where is the gap, where is the future, where we are going into. And like I also said earlier on, building capacity for knowledge management. Last on that is advocacy and policy influencing. But there's a cross-cutting at the bottom, as you see it there. Learning and capacity sharing, resource mobilization, and really looking at how we work with the external space. And part of our advocacy work, I'm going to come into this, has been mapping out where is decision being made at sub-national level, national and regional level. Next slide, kindly. So how far is our journey? I just want to see, in line with the three pillars that I've already mentioned, how far is the progress that we've made, and then I'll go into what are we going into next. Next slide. So I'll use this slide to summarize a story that is much more than this, of course. But when you look into the community organizing pillar, like I already said, we've developed a manual for this, and it's not something limited to the members of this network. It's something we are sharing across. It's building on existing knowledge. And we went ahead to pilot it to see, is it effective? And when I come at the end of my presentation, I'll invite my brother Guyo from Ethiopia, where we did pilot that manual. And we collected data qualitatively and stories that showed what is the impact. And I can give a little insight into it. We saw, for example, that women became much more involved in peace initiatives than before. And this was because we now gave them platform in an organized community structure to be able to have their voices more included. And this has improved the outcomes of the peace initiatives. And Guyo will come to speak to that. Then on the local evidence generation, besides creating the wiki, we've also done studies. One of those studies that members said we needed to appreciate is the quality of partnerships between the local organizations, the development partners, the donors, and very insightful things emerge, especially elements around how do we build sensitivity? How on our part also do we build accountability systems? You know, how do we ensure that if we left money out to a local organization, that within their own mechanism they will be accountable on that? The other bit of research that we've done recently, and we are working already, is creating funding models from local sources, because we know that generally when you look at the funding scenario, a lot of the philanthropies and foundations are largely from the West. But does it mean Africa doesn't give? It is not true. What we've seen is that what is lacking is an institutionalized way of giving. And therefore, we are working on funding models right now and trying to see how this will be worked across. I'd already mentioned about Wiki. I will not go to that. What about in advocacy? We've seen quite some improvement on this, where we've mapped out spaces where decisions are being made. A good example is the IGAD, the Intergovernmental Authority for in Eastern Horn of Africa, that is very much involved in decision making, such as in peacemaking, in responding to humanitarian situations. And for this, we attended a meeting, and they were actually in the report, they captured out and agreed that we need to have CRHA and these kind of structures being more involved in supporting anticipatory actions on climate issues and this kind of interventions. And we've also been involved in other forums such as sexual violence. We do organize through the Secretariat the International Child Protection Conference. It's a biennial conference. We had one in 2023. The second one, we're doing the third one this year, and we want to have a special session on the humanitarian action and how prepared are the local organizations engaging in that. And then lastly is the capacity sharing, which we've done trainings, including on how to do quantitative data analysis, how to present your data, and all that. Next slide. I'm conscious of time. I want to give you time to engage with us in the questions. I'm about to be done. Now, so what is the impact of all this? What are we seeing? Again, localization being something that is evolving, and even on our end, I know it's 2 years, so much can happen, but it's still a lot of learning curve, even at this point. We see that through the work we have done, that the community engagements are improving, especially bringing in the minority voices, bringing in voices that weren't very taken on board, by just emphasizing to member organizations across the region that you can learn from each other. You can have a structured way of doing this. And also because we have spaces where we are learning from each other, it's then possible to pick something from Ethiopia, take it into Somalia. You know, we've learned a lot from the team in Mozambique on anticipatory climate actions. And therefore, we see that as a major change that has already happened within us. The research visibility, you know, just the awareness around research. Like I've already said, we've done some trainings on how to undertake research, because we do a lot of things as the nonprofit sector. But often, when you go into the space where data is being used for decision making, and I'll give an example. We were requested as AICS to undertake a study for Meta on what is the impact of the relationship between the use of screen technology and the impact on brain and mental health for young people. And there was very little data that you will find, not because we are not doing a lot of interventions, but it's because we don't have a structured way of following through as a study and being able to document whether this works or doesn't work. So this is something we already seen. We've seen some interest in the academia. Where I am, I'm doing my PhD now with this focus, and my department is already very interested on doing more research on this. The international presence, last year, we had a team actually through our champion, Lynn Ngugi, who's been also worked in the UNHCR and other spaces. were part of the Nairobi Climate Change Conference, and that was very appreciated, the voices of local community. And like we've also said, we are getting into being asked, what do we do around local funding? You know, now that the changes are happening, the USAID stop work order and those kind of interventions, what do we do? And just the demand for more capacity sharing. And here I want to appreciate the Humanitarian Leadership Summit with Save the Children. You've been very instrumental in this. Next slide, kindly. So where are we going in terms of the future? And in the interest of time, let's go to the slide. Next slide. So we see that in the near future, we want to address sustainability issues. Okay, how do we have continuity for this kind of structures? How do we have continuity of engagement of the local organization? How do we have continuity of the impact that we are having? Can the women who've come in be able to continue influencing some of these decisions? So we are creating mechanisms for this, and that includes the funding question. How do we get more local funding from private sector? You know, and how do we get our voices more involved in that? So these are critical questions we are asking. Another gap that has emerged, which is a challenge, and we want to be able to address that, is how do we make the most of the data? Because there's a lot of knowledge here, but packaging it, analytics, and all that is a gap that we are seeing, and therefore we want to really be able to go on that. And beyond international aid, how do we tap into local financing? And here we see opportunities. I'm going to come to that on even working with colleagues from Save the Children Norway on how to strengthen this component. Next slide, kindly. So we see therefore the opportunities for collaboration around, you know, the monitoring and reporting the progress on localization. We are looking at having periodic reports, you know, the same way you do for the UN Convention on the Rights of the Child, with clear metrics on how to measure. And we acknowledge that there's been an attempt to develop metrics, especially the ones where the local organizations can report. What change are we seeing? Are we seeing greater involvement, perhaps, in decision-making processes, increased local funding and international funding for local organizations, more accountability within the local organizations? So these are things we want to continue to strengthen, innovating on the wiki and the AI, you know, integrating that in data management, fostering long-term research. Why are we emphasizing that long-term? Because sometimes for you to track an outcome, you need time, you know, to be able to trace that well. And then building localization movement. Like we've noticed, it takes a critical mass to be able to make certain change. And therefore, besides the 11, we've already agreed in the last steering committee meeting that we will have more members come in from local organization and from other networks. Next slide. About to finish. Now, a very specific areas that we think we can take on, and I'm not asking that you make this decision now, but therefore that's something we can explore with Save the Children Norway, is one, I really want to emphasize that in saying we want greater localization, we believe in a stronger global north, global south collaboration, because we share the same planet, and therefore a win for one side is a win for the other one. So we are looking at really increasing engagement, sharing of knowledge in that. We're also looking at really being, I mean, some of you have worked in many countries, and therefore you have good expertise around program quality, quality designs of those programs. How do we improve them? And we see the opportunity to collaborate in that, in sharing what works, what doesn't work. I've already talked about the data management and analytics, continued research. And I think the other thing that is emerging is the need to tap into the private sector. How do we get more Norwegian companies that are doing business in Africa to collaborate in the CSR, corporate social responsibility, and I see that opportunity on that. And then joint advocacy at global level. You know, there are spaces that you sit in. I'm sure you'll be able to tell the people that you work with, you know, there are these voices. We can come in and work with you. You're better off in leading us into those tables. And lastly, linking the CRHA to other supporters, other funders who are interested in this. I think I should be done. Just go on next slide. Yes. So at this, before we do this, I want to invite my brother Guyo. You can speak, and then we'll play these two videos. They're about 2 minutes each, and then we'll invite my colleague, Dr. Michael Kiragu, to facilitate the question and answer. Over to you, Guyo.
Yeah, thank you, Sam, and everyone for this session. And I won't take quite long. I think I'm given only
Are you able
about
to
3
put on
minutes.
your camera, Guyo?
Yeah, let me put it on, and then
you can go on meanwhile.
It's not allowing me. So I would be speaking about our experience on community organizing in Ethiopia. My name is Guyo, and I work with CIFA Ethiopia. CIFA stands for Community Initiatives Facilitation and Assistance, and we work in Ethiopia, but mainly southern Ethiopia and across the Kenyan border in northern Kenya. So I will be speaking about community organizing, what we have done under the CRHA consortium, and it's about community organizing. Maybe in a nutshell, community organizing, we can understand it as a community engagement tool, and it prioritizes listening to and understanding the experience, perspectives of the communities we work in to ensure that not just humanitarian actions, but also development actions are relevant, effective, and also locally led. So it's also a strategy that fosters sustainable development with positive changes within the community. And it's like a community-centered approach. So it empowers local individuals and also the community structures to address concerns leading to collaborative, inclusive, and effective community development. We have 3 pillars. I think Sam has also spoken about that, but under COT, we have 3 pillars. Of course, mainly it's the people pillar, and the people pillar is, it underscores the context in which we are in, the people with which we work in understanding their culture, understanding what technical, traditional knowledge or expertise that they have managed to use over the years. And it relates also to the needs and interest. So we also have the community pillar, the community structure pillar. And this one also recognizes the presence and the significance of community organizations. In our context, I can say we have like a community, traditional community structures that include the peace committees, the rangeland management committees, because we are in a pastoral area setup, the water management committees, the traditional early warning experts at community level. So these are some of the structures that we work with. Not to sideline also the government structures that also exist within the community. Then the third pillar is the shared vision and action. So this one also advances communities to speak to each other, to have a common goal, and then put those common goals into actions. And there is also the component of learning and continuous improvement. So these 3 structures or 3 pillars, when they are combined, they also foster an environment where communities identify issues, where they plan actionable steps, evaluate also the progress of those action plans. Then they also learn, adapt, and lead to transformative changes. And It's all about effective community engagement that would relate to sustainable change by better addressing community needs, enhancing inclusivity, and creating a positive impact on the communities that we work in. So maybe as a practical situation, I would be speaking about 2-3 communities where we work in Borana, which is in southern Ethiopia, and we were reflecting on what type of disasters that normally affects the communities. These disasters sometimes normally are recurrent droughts and then peace and conflict related issues. That is conflict. So these are the 2 things that normally we are dealing on. And then we had a cross-border program, and we just realized that we had to use the tool, the community organizing tool. And while we were using the tool, we realized that women participation in the peace building structure, both at community and government levels, are wanting. It's like it's not enough. We have seen in some peace building and conflict resolution structures, totally there are no women, and it's only men that are members of these committees. Then, of course, it's known that women also have roles, responsibilities, both in peace building and conflict resolution. So we had discussions with the community, we had discussions with the government structures, and finally, at the end of the program, we had women being not just members of the committees, but also leading some of the peace structures that are at community level. So in a nutshell, this is what we have done with the community organizing. And we look forward, we are also trying to replicate these efforts to other communities that we are working in. We also have the East Hararge community, which is in Oromia region, where we are also trying to test this tool. So far, it's quite positive, it's quite progressive, and it's all about speaking to the community and then getting to understand the current context in which they are living in, the needs that also they would like to have, and then together we also move and try to achieve those common goals. Over to you, Sam, and thank you to everyone for listening.
Thank you, Guyo. And I know you have quite a vast experience in promoting localization, even outside just our network. And we can't have enough time to hear all that. Maybe in the interest of time, we'll only play one video, the first one on South Sudan, and then Dr. Michael Kiragu can join in.
In the face of adversity, women have always been at the heart of resilience and change. Empowered with the right tools, support, and opportunities, they're leading the change in combating humanitarian crises and building stronger communities.
To us as women, and when we come in group, we have been able to actually discuss our issues and plan well on how we can operate. Like when she delivered, she was able to support herself through the money that she got from SADO and use it for the business.
With microgrants, women are provided with the resources they need to start businesses, create jobs, and support their families. These small investments are making a big impact in the fight against humanitarian crisis. Community leadership plays a part in defining local solutions, and with the help of SADO, they bring communities together, enabling them to define and implement their own local solutions effectively.
We support the local partner in the decision that they make in the provision of the services to our community.
These businesses are not just economic ventures, they are lifelines. They provide stability and hope even in the most challenging circumstances.
With the current crisis, we have been facing issues to do with food insecurity, and we have been able to at least support some little. When floods come, it destroyed all the crops, and it has been challenging making sure that we have something to eat. But still, we are able with the little that we have.
Women on the front lines are also addressing critical issues like gender-based violence. By coming together, they are finding solutions, supporting each other, and ensuring their voices are heard in the face of injustice. These conversations are essential. They're not just about survival. They're about thriving, finding support, and taking action against violence. Through community-led initiatives, these women are transforming their neighborhoods. They are rebuilding infrastructure, creating jobs, and ensuring that every member of the community has access to services they need. And while women work tirelessly to build a better future, the next generation plays, dreams, and grows, knowing that they too will inherit a stronger, more resilient world. Through collective effort, these women are not only improving their own lives, but also empowering each other. They work together to sustain their businesses and support their families. When women speak, action follows. They lead with resilience, creativity, and determination, providing that when women are empowered, communities thrive. These women are not just survivors, they are innovators, leaders, and change makers. Together, they are on the front lines, building a better world for all.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you, Guyo. Thank you, Samuel. Thank you, Edwin, for your presentation. I know there was more to be covered, but at this point in time, we just have a few more minutes. We'd like to take any questions that either clarifying or anyone who would want any more detail, so that we can tackle that in the next few minutes. I'm seeing one hand, Titus. Please go ahead, unmute yourself.
Yes, good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
Yeah, my name is Major Retired Titus Wabwire from Busia Beyond Crime, local organization in Kenya at the board of Busia, Kenya and Uganda. I just want to appreciate this consortium for the approach that you're having to address humanitarian aid. This is what has been lacking since time immemorial, even with the very loads of resources being applied or injected in addressing humanitarian aid. But the approach of the community is very, very impactful and has helped so many communities. We are also in the same aspect, we have worked with the SAM, and we really appreciate that. My question is, how can some of us, the local organization, also using the same community approach, like we are using community policing, be part of this wonderful initiative?
Thank you. That's well noted. We'll respond to a couple of them as they come in. Anyone else? Anyone else with a question, a comment? Yes, Ladan.
One person from the room here.
Ladan,
can you hear me?
Yes.
I do have, I had a question which you already answered it. I was like wondering if there was any success story, but which you just answered with the video that you just did. And I thank you for that. But I also want to just express my sincere appreciation for the insightful discussion, like the depth of this knowledge that shared and emphasized on this sustainability and the community-driven challenges were truly inspiring for me. And I thank you to all of the organization and participants who your dedication and advising the impactful initiative. And having said that, I have another question, which is just like, is there any upcoming opportunities for cross-border actions that we can participate in? Over to you, and thank you.
One question from.
Thank
Hello.
you. Ladan.
Dr. Karagu.
Yes.
Hello.
I'm sorry.
We have Ladan's hand up. Then we'll come back to you, Awan.
I just finished it. And
okay,
thank you.
We'll come back. We'll respond to that. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. One question from the room here, if that's okay.
Yes. Hi, and I was interested to ask about the evolving metrics to evaluate the project. Obviously, you can do that to evaluate new structures and concrete examples, but the feeling amongst people for how much they feel like they can take leadership or participate in the project, how easy is it to evaluate metrics for that?
Thank you. A very question. Anyone else? Samuel, maybe you can take those questions, and then we and I'll ask other members to also chime in as Samuel goes on.
Move your camera. Great, very good questions. I don't think I've answered all of them, but I could start. Some of it has already been answered. So like you said, is there an opportunity for more cross-border learning? So the way we've operated is we have periodic meetings, but we also sometimes just respond to the situations, or like there are some anticipation that with the rain, sometimes you're flooding. So there could be opportunities where we collaborate in just planning such. So I think that's one space where we can be able to work with partners like yourself on how to engage and how to prepare ourselves to respond to that. We've had missions like the one to Ethiopia and the one to South Sudan. And of course, therefore, we can be able to mention that. But I must say, sometimes we are resource limited, and cross-border movement can be a bit challenging. But that's exactly why we are trying to work with those who are there. So feel free to also let us know if you have any other activities. We can loop you in on what our members are doing where they are. Maybe on the metric, if I heard you right, was it a comment that there's something already we can build on? I missed that a bit. Greg, would you want to emphasize?
I think the question was, sorry. Okay, go ahead. Maybe you could repeat the question so that.
Hello. The question about metrics was in terms of evaluating all aspects of the project. For example, amongst local communities, the feeling that they can participate and even lead new projects. How easy is it to develop metrics to measure these things? If that makes sense.
I think the question of metrics is a tricky one, because to this point, we've been able to do it from a qualitative perspective, where we have a solution or an intervention that has been adopted or has been effective, but can only be qualitatively described by who benefited, how was it implemented. I think that's what provides the greatest opportunity for us at this moment to showcase the effectiveness of this kind of a project. My colleagues here also want to add to that. Anthony, you have.
Thank you. This is a wonderful discussion. Just to chime in on the question on the metrics, while we have frameworks that have been set out, like from other research hubs, which test the success of this localization across the globe, actually. And so one of the things that has not been correctly measured is how you can get from the local person getting success from them. And so one of the things that we see is a solution to this is the wiki platform, where we are going to capture, or rather we intend to capture solutions on the ground from people who are employing and deploying these solutions. And so with this data, you are able to now see whether this solution has impacted on the local person themselves. And because they can directly feed into the wiki platform.
Thank you, Tony. I know we are running over time.
Yeah, we're a little bit over time right now. So just like apology for everybody who's still here. Are we okay for another 2 more minutes or 1 more minute at least? Or should we just conclude the meeting now? What do you think, Samuel, Edwin, Dr. Karagu?
Well, thank you, Owen. Yeah, we respect that. And from our side, I think we've, if there are more questions, we'll have taken them. But we have the opportunity to respond on email, organize one-on-one calls to be able to respond to that. So from our side, we just want to say we are very, very grateful for this opportunity to grow the conversation. And so we look forward to being able to work with you, and feel free to ask us for more materials. And thank you for the offer to build on what you're already doing. I'm trying to remember the name from my Inga. Yes. So thank you for that. So we look forward to tapping into your expertise and experiences. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Samuel. Thank you so much, everybody from the consortium and colleagues everywhere, and also colleagues that are here. Thank you so much for your attention, for your participation. This is not the end of the discussion about localization, local-led movement. This is only the beginning, and we can have so much more of this discussion soon in the future. And then be ready with more questions, Samuel. We'll be sending you emails. I'm keep confusing, like, look, what do I see? I see this, I see that. Because your face is there, but then the camera is here, so I don't know what to see. But you know what I mean. I always respect you, and that's the way it is. And have a good afternoon, everybody, and then let's meet again sometime soon. Thank you.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, everyone.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Thank you.